is Chris Lee Moore. For this edition, as we get ready set for Survivor Series, joined by Jeff Riders Block Gwinnett and the last of the Americans, James Faraci. Welcome, gentlemen.
Pleasure to be here, Chris.
Yep, nice to be back.
Like I said, we'll be getting the preview for Survivor Series very shortly thereafter. But first, then we'll be probably briefly talking about the ultimate future of this show. But we'll talk about that at a different time. But first and foremost, I wanted to get, because of that, there is a subject I basically want to get a discussion of ultimately, and I did set it aside for this particular show, the last major show for WWE of the year. And look, and the top topic is this. Look, obviously, even just a lot of people, even myself, have been willing to admit that World Wrestling Entertainment has been going through some struggles these last few months, couple of years.
That's putting it mildly.
No kidding.
It just seems to think that the only thing I've already had some contention on regarding it, and I'm not trying, and I never have I tried to be an outright defender of this individual, but what everyone seems to want to put the blame solely on Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Now, some of the times they'll deflect the blame over to Kevin Dunn, but the problem I'm having with that is, look, you're talking about someone who has run this wrestling promotion for 35 years, by my count. Almost exactly 35 years, actually now, to the best of my estimation. And just suddenly, every single thing going wrong is automatically tied back to him, especially when we're in a more or less a transitional phase right now. There is obviously work being done behind the scenes to gradually shift more control of the organization to other individuals, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon in particular.
And Shane.
And perhaps Shane as well, yeah. Of course, he was not originally in the original plans. But the main thing to the question is, like, okay, how much of this is Vince McMahon, and how much is it possibly be some of these individuals that are starting to slowly try to gain more influence in the company?
That's a good question. Personally, I think Vince is starting to wind down. Even he thinks he's starting to wind down. And so they might be... It's a slow transition.
Well, here's basically what I've been getting at. I've been wanting to talk about for a long number of times. It seems to be... There's been a style that WWE has subscribed to for a number of years, almost since Vince McMahon took over. It's always meant to be much more over the top, very almost cartoony in its execution. It got more nihilistic in the late 90s, crossing over to the turn of the century. But obviously, it's always been... There's a reason they branded themselves as sports entertainment. And regardless of what people want to think about, they were calling themselves that almost at least since the first WrestleMania. They've used that term, whether people want to admit that or not. But that's been Vince McMahon's style. Here's the thing, though. When you look at Triple H, this is a guy who clearly his own background and desired style of wrestling, it's more rooted in the old NWA when you really think about it. Keep in mind, this is a guy, his actual first major wrestling, he was first very temporarily part of WCW and actually trained under William Regal at that time. But basically, obviously only went to WWE when he was one to find out there wasn't going to be a lot of opportunities in Ted Turner's organization for him. But it does look like his idea of wrestling is to focus much more on the in-ring action than the story building as it is. And what you've obviously got here is a clash of styles going on right now.
A styles clash, you might say.
Go sit in the corner and think about what you've done, Jeff.
Yeah, go to the
No.
corner, Jeff.
No, I regret nothing.
Of course you don't. By any rate, obviously, there's a clash in philosophies between what has, like it or not, worked for WWE for the past 30 plus years, and now we transition to something else entirely. And when you look at, yes, there's a significant drops in ratings. Although I still maintain you have to remember more than anything else that also we're in a time period where television ratings are in flux right now anyway, in an era of cord cutting and moving to online streaming as it is.
Yeah.
But again, how much of it is the fact that is it supposedly Vince McMahon's doing, or is it the fact that they're trying to move more towards an NWA hard-hitting style that Triple H wants, and that's not appealing to a mainstream audience?
Well, that's a good question, and I don't have an answer for that. It's the first time I have no answer.
Well, I think that style could be made a little bit more accessible to mainstream audiences, though I would say that there does need to be a little bit more emphasis on character and story.
Right.
That being said, and I've said this before, there needs to be a good balance. There needs to be a good balance because, because guys want to see, because people go there, they want to see an athletic quote competition. And if you don't provide at least the sports part of the sports entertainment, you're basically just doing kabuki theater in town.
Right.
Well, I might need to check out this kabuki theater stuff. But okay, I do at least can agree with you that yes, a balance of athletics and storyline can't hurt at the very least. Yeah, absolutely.
No, it can't.
That ultimately does go to another thing, and you did say, Jeff, that they're in a situation though where they need some more focus on better storytelling. But that crosses over to another potential issue they have to deal with. I don't think a lot of people talk about another cause of whatever difficulty they have. Again, when it comes to all the people who want to place the blame solely on Vince McMahon, it's because they do firmly believe that Vince McMahon is the be-all, end-all when it comes to what gets put on WWE programming.
Well,
he doesn't have to answer to anyone, and that's not really the case. Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Well, what I was about to say was that basically there's two groups of people that Vince McMahon does have to answer to. One is the higher ups at the television networks like USA and what will eventually be Fox when this new deal with SmackDown comes into activation, and the other group is the shareholders, because WWE is a publicly traded company, and you are dealing with individuals that basically have to deal with the individuals that nowadays, if you put on a match that results in the type of bloodfest like you had with JBL versus Eddie Guerrero at Judgment Day 2004, the match I keep wanting to bring up a lot of times, that's gonna get some phone calls into Vince's office from certain individuals who have their own stake in what WWE does. I think people get there's a lot of different individuals that Vince McMahon has to try to please, and unfortunately, it's not just the ticket buying public. Unfortunately.
Well, I hear where you're coming from. I mean,
I get what you're saying. It's just think about it from, say, now I'm not saying now now you could probably say they're either missing the mark or they're aiming it at the wrong person, but people are accustomed to looking at the top guy. The buck stops with him.
Yeah.
Fair enough, of course.
Yeah, because ultimately, yes, he has to answer to the shareholders and everything, but at the end of the day, WWE, there's only one man at the top of that mountain, and that's
Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
yeah, Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
And I definitely don't blame you that why people would ultimately look at Vince as the person responsible for everything. I'm definitely not going to blame you for that.
Yeah. To put a sports analogy on, people look to, say, the quarterback when a team either succeeds or fails.
Right. That term
Jeff,
called quarterback
in my
syndrome.
term,
Yeah.
Jeff, on my team, the Jets, it's the coaching staff.
That's the other thing.
The
quarterback.
It's like the coach, the quarterback.
Right. Exactly.
Not just the coaching staff for my team. It's just
they're not. You're not going to have anybody boycotting USA Network or boycotting the individual shareholders. They're going to go after one person, and that person's Vince, whether right or wrong.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. All I'm doing is what I've said is is trying to take a look to probably look even deeper, and that's the unfortunate thing is that it's okay, it's understandable why they would look to Vince, but unfortunately it's the situation that Vince is trying to have to please. First off, that WWE is trying to have to please its ticket buying fans versus trying to please its shareholders and network executives who are probably even more ultra conservative, rot up their butts, hard asses than Vince McMahon can ever hope to be. Then you've got the situation of how the fan base is fractured as well. What type of fans are you going to try to satisfy? The people that have been that have bought the sports entertainment brand for the past 30 plus years since Hulk Hogan beat the Iron Sheik in 1984, that's been going for them, or are you trying to start leaning towards this hardcore wanting to see more type of realistic sports style wrestling that's been dominating the internet, especially for the past 5 or so years? That are the ones all over telling people that Ring of Honor and NJPW are the better programming one. The people who hang on to every single thing Dave Meltzer puts in his newsletter or on social media. It's a really situation where you can't please all of these people, and you ultimately have to make a decision as to what type of fan base you're going to promote yourself to.
Right, but there's also this phrase that I keep reminding myself. It was from another wrestler by the name of Jeff Jarrett. Responsibility starts at the top and ends at the top.
Of course. It's just a matter of... For me, it's the situation of not just who is making the decisions, but what has to go into the decisions that are being made, unfortunately. And it's...
Well, if I may.
Very well.
If I may.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I've seen on different social media sites, like especially Twitter, where wrestlers will, talk to fans who have taken an issue with it, and they'll say the equivalent of, just shut up and enjoy it or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think that even with all the stuff going on, that's kind of the wrong attitude to take with your fans. It's kind of the wrong attitude to take with your fans. It's like you don't tell the people who are watching your product, essentially the same thing you would tell your 5-year-old, shut up and eat your peas.
It's not very tactful, I will give you that.
Exactly. And I've got a 5-year-old niece, so trust me when I say you got to be tactful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is just, I think it's a situation where sometimes people, and this is something I'm guilty of myself on a number of different other issues outside of wrestling, where reality is, especially nowadays where there's so much more media exposure and so many more outlets, there's not really a very simple answer to fixing this problem. I mean, people are already seem to be clinging to the fact that whenever Vince McMahon eventually completely relinquishes control of WWE through one way or another, let's just put it that way, whether he's still, and then whether or not they would supposedly get someone like a Kevin Dunn out of the TV production, who's basically got a guaranteed job so long as Vince is in charge in any way, shape, or form. That's just the reality of it. That people seem to think that basically you get rid of Vince, get rid of Dunn, everything's gonna be shiny, happy people holding hands again.
No.
No, I mean, as critical of Vince and Kevin Dunn as I am, as I've been, even I know that, it's like those aren't the only problems WWE has, and they're not all going to magically go away. I mean, that's just flat out unrealistic, and I know, unrealistic sports entertainment.
Oxymoron right there.
Yeah, but yeah, it's something that really the situation is what it is. What it is. It's the price you pay for being the man at the top of the mountain.
Exactly.
And it's just a situation where, like I said, it's just waiting again. You're really having to determine. You've got so many people staring at this organization, and you're not going to be able to satisfy all of them. And it's just going to have to be a matter of they're going to have, especially whoever takes control of the reins in the future, is going to have to make some hard decisions on exactly who they're going to try to please, and then just have to basically mute the complaints of anybody else, because this is truly a situation where you just cannot please all of the people all of the time. In the meantime, they're going to try to do the best they can here with their Survivor Series pay-per-view, which comes up this Sunday, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central. That's exactly, of course, the official show, not including the pre-match and everything. I've got the card here right now, and first and foremost, amazingly enough, on this show we're getting a Cruiserweight Championship match. Buddy Murphy defending the title against Mustafa Ali. Anybody here been actually watching this stuff?
Not really.
Well, the thing is, I used to, but I haven't recently. Although I have seen a lot of clips and gifs from there, and I will say that from a physical, technical standpoint, these two are like at the top of the cream. They're the cream of the crop. They are like at the top of the division. I'm not too familiar with the story, although Mustafa Ali's story has tended to be more about like him having a lot of heart, him having to fight for his family and everything, and basically kind of a man of the people type, which I can get behind.
So
this is definitely...
Ali's your choice. Ali's my choice. Jeff.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard Buddy Murphy's been just killing it over on 205 Live, but Mustafa Ali, I think, is due for a belt run.
If anything else, I'm going to say this is probably the big chance that both of them and really the Cruiserweight division has overall to finally try to get people invested in that brand, and hopefully could turn more people over to the 205 Live show if that's what they are ultimately hoping for.
Lord willing, the quick don't rise, it'll work.
Meanwhile, of course, the main theme of Survivor Series, ever since the most recent brand split, is that this is the Raw versus SmackDown night of the year. We're starting,
Right.
and first off, the first match to talk about there is the
Yeah.
Tag Team Survivor Series elimination match.
Plague of old.
The one night of the year, except for the World Cup and a couple of other places where Raw and SmackDown go head to head.
So we have Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, the Ascension, Lucha House Party, B Team, and the Revival against the Usos, the SmackDown team of the Usos, the New Day, the Good Brothers, Sanity, and wait a minute, the Cologne's still employed by WWE?
You're like the
Paul
third
Whitley.
you're the third person who's made that joke.
Well,
I mean,
because-
Jesus.
You
Paul
love,
Whitley.
I get it, but damn.
hey, you love a hanging curveball over the plate. I'm gonna swing at it. But yeah,
We're
But yeah.
calling Ripley's on that one. So
Well, I mean, it's easy to see why this is on the pre-show.
yeah,
It's easy to see this is on why this is on the pre-show. It's like you have two tag team divisions that are just that the tag team divisions are essentially dead in the water.
yeah,
You know, the only things you have going for you on SmackDown in terms of tag teams are New Day and the Usos, and
What about the
and
bar?
bar show. I mean, really, the
We'll get to
only
them.
reason, honestly, honestly, Big Show's novelty is the only thing keeping them in. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that from a match perspective. You know, it's just three big dudes. That's it.
Yeah. I will say
I
this.
mean-
I think the best thing they could do with this match, from what I could see, is if you ended up being, let's say, the Ascension versus Sanity to end it. That might be the opportunity for those teams to show themselves off and
Yeah.
might have something to move forward on. That's
Right.
at least what I think would probably be the best thing for them to do
So-
in this match.
Yeah,
The question
yeah.
now is, which team do you think is going to win, Raw or SmackDown?
I mean, frankly, this one's kind of the throwaway. So, I mean, SmackDown has the more interesting teams in terms of personalities. Although, but I mean, they also have a lot more talent on their team. You know, nothing against Chad Gable or the Revival,
Right.
or Lucha House Party or the Ascent, or I think I might have just left out Bobby Roode individually.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, if I had to pick, I'd probably say Team SmackDown.
Okay, so Team SmackDown as well. Chris?
Yeah, might be as good a pick as any, I guess, in my take.
I mean,
Meanwhile-
flip a coin.
Yeah, this is really a coin flip match. Meanwhile, speaking more of tag teams, we then go to the tag team champion versus champion match, which is the Authors of Pain, Raw Tag Team Champions, versus SmackDown champions Sheamus and Cesaro, The Bar. This is one I would actually say probably the best thing for them to do is have Authors of Pain win this one to try.
Agreed.
Yeah.
They need the win very badly. They need it more than Cesaro and Sheamus do because, frankly, the way they won the belts in a handicap match that they almost lost.
That's kind of silly.
That was weak.
Yeah, and I'll say
this, a win over the Bar would definitely help.
right.
Yeah, solidify their credibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. I think the fact that the Bar are champions again on SmackDown probably shows that Raw is the brand that's probably at least got the better future so far as tag teams go, because they've also got the Ascension, the B Team, the Revival, and whatnot. So probably this will be the chance for Raw to show itself off in this particular match.
So
Mhm.
Authors of Pain is
Yeah.
going to win.
Yeah, I think it was probably the best situation. Next up, Mid-card champion versus champion. Intercontinental champion Seth Rollins versus United States champion Shinsuke Nakamura. Of course, the big thing surrounding this match is the fact that Seth Rollins, basically comes back to payback so you know what. Because about, 3-4 years afterwards, Dean Ambrose finally turned the tables on Seth. And you just
Yeah,
have to
and
wonder, is that going to be a factor in this particular match?
Of course it's going to be a factor.
Well, yeah, it's.
Dean's got to do everything he can to destroy Seth Rollins.
I don't know if he'll interfere in the match physically. I know he'll probably have a presence.
Yeah.
And at the very least, Seth will. I think Seth's gonna lose, mainly because his head's not in the game, and he pretty much said he doesn't care about Nakamura. Which, if you're going into someone with a world class performer like Nakamura, you gotta have your head on straight. So
Exactly.
So I think it's fairly, I think the unilateral guess here is that this is going to be a win for Shinsuke with the side plot of trying to advance whatever upcoming feud they have between Rollins and Ambrose, correct?
Bingo.
That's the plan. Shinsuke Winsuke.
Yeah. So next up, the Women's Survivor Series Elimination Match on Team Raw.
Where everyone wins that one.
You had to go and pull out Jerry Lawler on that one.
Oh my god. Okay,
I'm going into the corner.
Yes, it's your turn now. Get in the friggin' corner.
Can we just agree we've all made
hands
bad
where we
jokes
can
so
see them too.
Yeah.
Hands where we can see them.
We've all made their own bad jokes on this show so far. We've all had our moment there. Meanwhile, on Team Raw, we have Natalya, Mickie James, Nia Jax, Tamina Snuka, and Ruby Riott versus the SmackDown team of Carmella, Naomi, Asuka, Sonya Deville, and one individual that's yet to be revealed due to circumstances we'll get to in a bit here.
Right.
Obviously, we're talking about how, obviously the big name thing here is that neither Sasha Banks or Bayley got into the Team Raw situation. Is that going to play a factor at all into whether or not who's going to ultimately win this thing?
I would like to see.
Not really.
I would like to see them come out and put some hurting on Liv and Sarah. Trying to take them out of the match.
Maybe.
I just do have a feeling that, again, I could be mistaken, but just looking at how many older veterans are on the Raw team, basically, that tells me my gut would say the better idea was to have SmackDown pull off this victory. You've got the likes of Sonya Deville, Naomi, and Carmella, and whoever is going to else be on this SmackDown Survivor Series team. I'm trying to think. Yes.
I'm thinking maybe as a novelty, it could be either Carmella or Lana.
Carmella's already on the team.
Carmella's already on there. So Lana, now, trying to remind again. It's been a while. Liv Morgan is on SmackDown, correct?
No, she's on. No, Liv Morgan's on Raw with Ruby and.
Whoops.
Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan are on Raw.
Yeah, sorry, my mistake on this. So
it's okay.
Yeah, right now Lana might be the surprise pick for right now. We're just gonna have to wait and see. But regardless, that's probably either way. I still would pick SmackDown to win this match.
Right.
Yeah, if I may, I mean, for the mystery final partner, honestly, I think it should be either Mandy Rose or Nikki Cross.
Mandy Rose.
Right.
I keep getting Mandy Rose confused with Liv Morgan. That's probably the problem I have, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But anyway, okay. Either way, you said. But even still, this is probably SmackDown's to win one way or the other. Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to the Men's Survivor Series match. We're on Team Raw. We have Braun Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Finn Balor, and Bobby Lashley against the SmackDown team of The Miz, Shane McMahon, Samoa Joe, Rey Mysterio, and Jeff Hardy. And this is a particular case for me, a situation here I'm wondering, because the supposed background for this match is that Stephanie McMahon, the commissioner of Raw, basically wants retribution for the fact that Shane-O put himself into the World Cup tournament and won it back at Crown Jewel.
Which we do not talk about.
Yeah,
Either way,
that whole thing was a farce.
One way or the other, let's
Yeah.
obviously the big thing here is, so one, there's two things I keep thinking about is, one, would Stephanie McMahon have anything up her sleeve to try to get Team Raw a victory here? The other is, with Jeff Hardy on Team SmackDown, what are the chances we're gonna have to see a return of Randy Orton? Or has he moved on?
Well, he's moved
Randy
on
Orton
to
we're talking about.
he's moved on to Rey Mysterio now.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, he wants to RKO Rey Mysterio in the worst way.
So that could be a very interesting situation. I'm going to go ahead and make a wild guess prediction here that Randy Orton could become Stephanie McMahon's hired gun to sabotage things for Team SmackDown and give Team Raw the win. I'm going to go ahead and make that prediction.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean,
after watching WWE since 1997, when it was the World Wrestling Federation, actually 96, it wouldn't surprise me if that would happen either.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, screw jobs happen all the time.
Yeah, I still have Vietnam flashbacks whenever I think of Survivor Series to the Montreal screw job that happened in '97.
Right.
Oh, you and everybody else.
Well, except me, because I didn't start watching wrestling until 2002. I'm the oldest person on this podcast, and I have the least amount of experience watching wrestling. Go figure.
How about that?
Yeah. Moving on to the, of course, women's champion versus champion match. And of course, originally this was supposed to be Ronda Rousey versus SmackDown Women's Champion Becky Lynch. But, of course, what happened was on the go-home edition of Raw, in the scrum, whatever you want to call it, that ensued, Becky took a hard shot from Nia Jax that, one, resulted in a broken nose and a real-life concussion, the latter of which is probably the number one reason why she's been pulled from this match. And her herself on television picked as her replacement for the match the woman she took the title from, Charlotte Flair. That
was a bit of a twist.
Now, the big question here is, that everyone's saying is, has this going to result in essentially flip-flopping this match with what many people were predicting was going to occur at WrestleMania coming up? Because everyone was saying Ronda versus Charlotte was the match at WrestleMania. Now the questions and rumors are already starting up, since they've had to more or less throw this match here at the last moment. Does that mean we'll be getting Ronda versus Becky at WrestleMania?
That's a possibility.
It's very possible. It's very possible, especially with the just absolutely stunning job Becky has been doing on promos.
Right.
I mean, she could teach a master class on promos.
And that brings me to to obviously the subject that's very difficult for me to talk about these last few months. You guys have all been aware, you guys joining me on this show, and anyone who's listened to both my commentaries on this, and whenever I bring it up on Rowdy Live, I was not a fan of Becky Lynch turning heel. I liked the happy-go-lucky, bad last-kicker character that she had been up to this point, and now how it looks like she basically got turned into a female Stone Cold Steve Austin. Just this terrible person who hates everybody, wants no friends, calls out the fans, intentionally hurts people for fun. And I just see people looking at this and lapping it up, and I'm thinking, 20 years later, we haven't learned anything. Like, this idea that so many wrestling fans embrace the asshole, for lack of a better term. However, this is the point I'm going to get to. What has happened this past week alone? This could be what I was hoping for to advance with Becky. Now, I said originally, I had hoped for, if I had been booking this,
One moment.
yeah, you there?
I got something to take care of real quick.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, live, everybody, we've lost one of
Mhm.
ours. But I'll just go on here and say that, I said, what I had hoped would eventually happen, if I was booking things with Becky after that heel turn, I would have had it so where she had eventually lost the title, maybe back to Charlotte, had to deal with the fact that she now has no title, no friends, nothing. She gets bullied by a group like the Iconics, ultimately has to have someone like Charlotte come to her rescue and be forced to realize the fact that you can't do things absolutely all on your own and get some type of redemption here. This situation might work just as well, because this is a situation where, one, she had to back out of this match, but they had to make it, it was set up in a way where she didn't want to back out of this match. Now, that's not something a heel normally does. So the fact that once she did that, two, obviously the fact that she still came out later that night on Raw with a bloodied shirt and everything isn't going to help her make her look any more heelish there. The fact that she would come back out like that. And then the fact that she would choose the very person whose friendship she betrayed and began to take an almost perverted pleasure from taking the title away from her former best friend to come back and say, okay, I'm picking you to get the job done they won't let me do now. This could be something. This could at least be, I don't mind a Becky Lynch who probably is a bit more, let's say, aggressive in her style. But just the fact that she has to have this attitude of, I'm not trusting anybody else, and I don't like anybody else, and I don't even care if the fans cheer me or not. This, and this is what I'll say, if this match would turn out in a way where it's Charlotte versus Ronda, and Becky ends up finding a way to aid Charlotte in the victory, that could be the final step toward maybe getting a more developed, I'll even say the nasty word, tweener character that maybe Becky Lynch could finally be, that maybe I could finally get behind. Although I know I'm the idiot and I'm the guy who doesn't know anything and doesn't understand just why everyone else likes, I hate everybody, Becky, so to speak.
James, you go ahead first.
Honestly, I have no clue if it will lead to her to become this even ground character-wise, but if it does, it does. Right now, if I honestly think so, I really think this might be a setup for a bit more of the heel in which she thinks she's coming out to help Charlotte, but instead clobbers her so Ronda can make her tap.
That could it could help us. That could be it as well.
No, that's one way to do it, I guess. Another, I guess it really depends on. Honestly, if that happens, that would be like a terrible. That would be like a terrible character move.
Yeah, I don't know why I came up with that, but if you want my honest opinion, if Becky is not going to become a factor, and it's just going to be straight up Charlotte and Ronda, I'm going with Ronda.
I can see that as well. I mean, because just the fact that I almost would have guessed Ronda to win this match if it was going to be her versus Becky anyway. Yeah, I'm going to say this. I would pick Ronda to win this match unless Becky plays a hand to aid Charlotte in the victory. That's probably the best prediction I can make with this.
Well, I'm kind of a mixed. I'm kind of several minds about this. Well, first off, say Becky doesn't get involved, Charlotte loses. You could have a devolution of Becky's character going back to picking on Charlotte and saying, I should have known you couldn't get the job done, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, oh, I thought we were done with this.
Right.
But I'm hoping that either Charlotte wins and beats Ronda, because honestly, Ronda needs to get that first loss out of the way.
Yeah.
Let's not do this whole undefeated streak bullshit again. It's a load, but
I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, because because look what it did to Asuka.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Look what it did, the undefeated streak did to Asuka. They haven't done basically jack shit with her since. If there's somebody for Ronda to lose to right now,
it would be Charlotte.
It would be Charlotte. Because think about it like this. Ronda is the big marquee star. She's the women's division's Brock Lesnar, but she shows up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Look. Yeah, I got to see her compete in a live show in Corpus Christi. She'll even attend house shows, even. So you gotta give her that much credit.
No. I know. I mean, whatever I think about her personally, it's like, as a person, it's like, I will say, as a performer, she's putting in the work. She's improving. I mean, she still has an issue with slinging people around by the shoulder, but she's they're still working the kinks out on that. But you have her as a marquee name, and you also have Becky, whose star is just like passing through space and time at how fast it's rising. I mean, she's like the top star in WWE right now, bar none.
And this is something we'll definitely have to talk more about probably another time. If I can get you or anyone else to join me on Rowdy Live in a future edition. We'll probably talk about this obviously much more regarding Becky.
To sum up, you're basically in an unwinnable situation where you either let your marquee star take a loss, or you snuff out the momentum of what's looking to be your hottest commodity right now. Mm-hmm. Now, the one and you could do it like, say, a double count out or something like that, and that would be cheap, but it would protect both characters.
Right.
Now, but as far as like a pick goes, I would like Charlotte to win, but I'm guessing it's probably going to be Ronda.
Wait to see on that. And finally, we have, of course, the men's heavyweight champions versus champion, Universal title holder Brock Lesnar versus...
Oh, God, not him. Again.
Versus, again, the surprise of all surprises, the new SmackDown WWE champion, Daniel Bryan. And yes, everybody has been posting that meme, basically saying Daniel's gonna get killed in this thing.
Yeah.
Well, this one's gonna be interesting. I'll say that. This is I mean, Brock versus AJ last year was a really great match. Was a great match. I think Brock did what he could. AJ did what he could, and they had a good match. Right. This depends on what the character of Bryan is going to be when he steps in that ring.
Exactly. That's one of the kind of things. I'll talk about that. I'll talk about this for as quickly as possible, because obviously we are all talking about heel turns, and obviously what happened was Bryan beat AJ. Bryan won the title just a few days ago on SmackDown in the matchup that I thought should have been held off to WrestleMania anyway, but that's another subject. Basically by giving the low blow, which of course led to some more of my friends saying, why the hell hasn't AJ started wearing a cup yet? But
yeah.
This
time
it
doesn't sound like a girl.
But for what it's worth, Bryan actually got the job done that Shinsuke Nakamura never could, and supposedly being able to take advantage of the low blow to get the actual pinfall and become WWE champion. So now, the problem here is that now you've got this shocking heel turn for Daniel Bryan, and it's just a few days before you have a really chance to build on it. Now you've got to throw him into this heel versus heel matchup on Survivor Series with a guy who he's not going to see again after tonight. I will say that
Not
that
again
kind
till
of does...
probably not till the next blue moon.
Well, that's not a situation. It's just the fact that you're not going to see Raw versus SmackDown again after this night for the most part. That was my point there.
I would probably say like he'll show up at like Royal Rumble next.
Yeah.
That's about it.
But that's the main thing, is that obviously this is one situation where I think the match itself does kind of it kind of gets in the way now of whatever they're planning on doing now with Daniel Bryan's character. Which, by the way, I gotta get this off my chest. And some people, including my former co-host, had an issue with me bringing this up. Let's bring up what Daniel Bryan has done in the last 4 or 5 years. This guy became World Heavyweight Champion at WrestleMania 30. Had to drop that belt because of injury. A year later at WrestleMania 31, becomes Intercontinental Champion. Has to drop that title and ultimately retire from active competition due to the injuries he's racked up. He's still allowed to be out a job in WWE. Not only that, is given a new role still on television, which he's able to do for the next few years, until finally doctors give him clearance again that he can go back to active performing. Despite their history of having problems dealing with concussions, WWE allows him to get back into the ring as a full-time performer. And now they not only give him back the WWE Championship, but allow him to perform this heel turn that Daniel Bryan himself supposedly wanted to do. By the way, that's the big thing. They basically turned their most popular superstar, male superstar at least, into a bad guy because he wanted to do it. And I'm like, there are still people out there among the online wrestling fans who think WWE doesn't like Daniel Bryan and is screwing him over? I mean...
I don't know about that. I would say the jury's out on that.
Yeah. But as far as this match is concerned, doesn't matter who wins, Brock's going to still have that Universal Championship, and it won't matter because he won't be back till Kingdom Come.
Well, that's a subject for a whole other time. Maybe we'll get back to it. And obviously that was due to extenuating circumstances one way or the other. I do kind of see Lesnar winning this match, and perhaps it contributing to whatever, in fact, him losing this match maybe becoming a deciding factor in this turn in Bryan's character is probably, I think, might be the best thing that could happen.
You know something? I'm going to say something that might be an interesting point that might happen in the match. Brock gets hit in the Lesnar. You get my drift. Several times by.
He gets Los Locos.
Yep. Rochambeau.
Yep. So that's James' prediction. You had something of yourself, Jeff?
Well, yes. And to go back to your point about Daniel Bryan wanting the heel turn, he, according to rumors, he was feeling... He felt like he was kind of in a holding pattern, that he'd kind of gotten stale and wasn't doing much since his return, which honestly I agree with. I mean, as much as satisfying as it was to see Daniel Bryan back in action, and my God, it was satisfying, it has kind of tapered off and petered off a little bit, so he kind of felt there was a change needed, which honestly I can't say I disagree with him. Now, as to this match right here, what if this new savage heel turn Bryan has is something that in story writes Brock off?
Right.
Like, Brock could still win the match, but he's totally unprepared for like Bryan's savagery and just sheer animalistic viciousness.
Right.
Perhaps.
Like I mean, and that could set up Bryan, and that could also set up Bryan's heel turn going forth on SmackDown as just this killer,
Right.
just this total. I mean, I wouldn't say badass, but I mean just like this.
Total
I mean,
psycho.
kind of a psycho. Like not
not
not the wimpy heel he was earlier, but I'm talking like kind of a Tommaso Ciampa.
That's possible. I will say this. As far as Lesnar goes, I really don't think WWE wants to keep that Universal title on him for very long. So yeah, anything they might do that might be used as an excuse to get off him as soon as possible, I think they got backed into a corner with what happened with Reigns having to step down, and supposedly now the rumors that Braun Strowman is fighting injuries himself. They really didn't have that. This was a case where they really didn't have that much of a choice but to put the belt back on Brock with the title matches they had already booked at that time. We're gonna have to wait and see, but it may happen, it may not. I would not be surprised if we have a new Universal Champion by the Royal Rumble. We'll have to wait and see on that.
Right.
But yeah, I think So I guess. Right now, my prediction is for Lesnar to win. I think maybe the rest of you did, but there might be a chance that still Brian could find a way to get Brock off TV one way or the other.
Right.
The smart money's Lesnar, but I'm still kind of holding out hope that Brian, at least puts up like a really good.
Perhaps, yeah.
A really good and savage fight.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, because if he gets squashed, I mean, again, momentum's dead.
Yeah,
well, I don't know. See, I don't know so much about that because I think maybe I would have a feeling where getting squashed might get him more angry, and that could be used to push him forward. Like I said, the fact that he's facing someone on the other show that doesn't necessarily have to affect what happens to him when he has to face AJ Styles again. 2 days later, because that's still going to be something one way or the other that's going to have to just carry over. This was just like they threw this together because they didn't want Lesnar versus Styles for the second straight year, and it's a hot shot booked match for the most part. And I really don't think I really doubt that the result of this match is going to affect what they plan to do with Daniel Bryan on SmackDown going forward that much.
Maybe not, but I mean, if I were booking it, that's how I would do it.
Fair enough. So that's the card for our Survivor Series, and with that, is getting ready to wrap up. I have to admit this now, might be our final edition of the Rasslin Roundup. I do, those not aware, my other partner, John Weber, decided to move on to some other things. It's his choice. I highly respect that. I definitely want to thank John for helping starting up this podcast. This was his idea from the beginning, because we were having some very heated discussions on social media, especially with, of course, how I would go after certain subsects of the fan base and whatnot. And I admit this. I can be a very abrasive person to deal with, especially on social media, on some very certain.
Yeah, but you're also a very decent guy. I've known you as a very decent guy.
I never consider myself that, but I accept the compliment. But main thing is this: look, the creation of this show, what started off as a fully recorded podcast, released as soon as possible, it did help me in starting to develop unscripted live stream type of broadcasting, which is what ultimately helped lead to the creation of Rowdy Live. And keep this in mind. Look, this doesn't necessarily have to be the end of wrestling talk for any of us, because I've said some wrestling stuff on Rowdy Live in the past. You guys have tuned in to the live stream on occasion.
Yeah.
Duke CT's been on there as well. We sometimes called in and talked and stuff. Well, you probably will see some more wrestling talk in the future on Rowdy Live, and maybe some other stuff. That's what's going to be my focus now.
So it'll be an evolution of the Rasslin Roundup.
Mm-hmm.
Something along those lines. It might get merged in a way. It's more like the evolution of Rowdy Live. to be perfectly honest. That's when I started that up.
It's merging, congealing into a single entity.
Something like that. We could go ahead and do something like that. But I definitely want to thank everyone who's helped contribute to this original wrestling podcast. Sometimes it's been difficult to put through with scheduling conflicts with a lot of people and whatnot, but I think that with hopefully with stuff like Rowdy Live, which next edition, by the way, will be at 3 p.m. Central Time this Sunday. It's getting an early start time due to Survivor Series. We'll be wrapping that up just in time to get started with that thing.
And I might be a little bit preoccupied. I'll join in as much as I can, but I got a lot of stuff going on, including the MST3K Turkey Day Marathon.
But yeah, I definitely want to thank you, James Faraci, you, Jeff Gwinnett, Duke CT Charles Thomas, who's contributed quite a bit here. And yes, especially if you're listening to you, John Weber, your comic strip critic, as he used to be known, that you helped get me into this type of online broadcasting, and I really do appreciate it. Cannot thank you enough for giving me the opportunity
I'm glad
to
to help
start
out
with
in
this.
any way, shape, form. You're my best friend. You're my blood brother. I'd do anything to help you out, dude.
And just
Yep. It was nice to talk shop.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone who's listening, you can definitely continue to listen to wrestling, hopefully future wrestling talk, and other subjects that will probably be bring up as often as possible on Rowdy Live, which I still plan to make a regular occurrence on Sundays. Full times yet to be determined. It's a work in progress, but as we cross over into the new year, hopefully get some really good ideas to keep pushing that thing forward. So you can definitely tune in right here on my Twitch channel on Sundays for gaming, wrestling talk, some sports talk perhaps, other subjects. Anything could be a possibility on there.
Absolutely.
And until that time, thanks for everybody who's contributed. And as always, stay rowdy, my friends.
Stay rowdy, my friends.